Hi, NARC troopers. NARC stands for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Collaborators, and you're troopers because you're going to keep going no matter how difficult it may be. You're going to keep fighting, keep marching. You're going to soldier on to get past all of the trauma and symptoms that you are suffering following a relationship with a narcissist, a sociopath, or a psychopath. Today we're going to talk about how the narcissist has trouble with object relations, is what it's called, object relations. And so let's just dive in. So a normal child at the ages, early childhood, 4 to 7, 3 to 8, somewhere in that range, they are learning their relationship with the world, with people outside of themselves. And so they are internalizing some things and they are externalizing others. So for the narcissist, this is what they do, which is not what your average person would do. But instead of having interactions with people who are outside of themselves, they internalize you, their significant other, the important people in the inner circle in their life. They internalize you. And to be able to do that, they do something called snapshotting. And snapshotting is essentially where they don't see you as a fully fleshed out three-dimensional human. What they see is like a cardboard cutout. It's flat. It's one-dimensional. It's something that they can easily control, regulate, manipulate, whatever. So they take this picture of you, they bring it internally so that it's not as if you're a separate person with feelings and all of that. You are merely an extension of them. And then they get out their Photoshop tools. Yeah. And they go nuts during there's 3 stages of narcissistic abuse. And in that first stage where they are idealizing you, after they snapshot you and internalize you, then they Photoshop you to make you perfect. And, all the filters these days to get rid of the bags under the eyes and, to make little improvements on the way people look. Like, that my hair looks yucky. Well, let me just put a little filter on that. It'll look all gorgeous and whatever. They do that to you internally after they've snapshotted you and internalized you. So they gobble you up, put you on the inside, make you a one-dimensional, like little cardboard cutout, and then they Photoshop all of the imperfections out of you. So in the initial stages of narcissistic abuse, essentially they idolize you. You can do no wrong. You're flawless. You're perfect. You're going to be their savior. You're going to meet all of their needs. And the terrible person who failed them that came before, well, they just erase them. That was a failed thing. You let them down in some way. So they just totally expunge, hit delete, erase, and you're gone. You're gone from the record book. Permanently, forever, gone. So they have the new person that they are idealizing, and they actually believe that this person is, everything that they ever dreamed of. They believe that this person is actually going to be the one that's going to make their life come together and be awesome. And just, they tell themselves they're in love, but they have no idea what that is. They have no idea what love is. So when they say that, what they're really talking about is idealization. And so look at my notes. I just take notes. Look at this. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages of notes over this. Probably won't get to all of it, but they're my talking points, so I can just kind of say, okay, now what do I want to talk about next? So, okay, so they've got you in this idealization stage. They've internalized a snapshot version of you, and you're not a real person to them with real feelings. They have no empathy. They have no compassion for you. You're just part of them. So when you do start to fail and your fuel and your supply gets stale, they are going to be out looking for the next one. So I want to mention also the whole parentification thing. A lot of narcissists have issues with the person who raised them. So if it's a male narcissist, he's going to have mommy issues. If it's a female narcissist, she's going to have daddy issues. And they essentially plug you into that role and sort of reenact that whole dynamic that they had with that abusive, neglectful, terrible parent that traumatized them. And that way they can control it this time and maybe fix it and do a better job and make it so that there's a happy ever after. So if you catch that kind of interpersonal feeling between the two of you as if this person is sort of treating you more like a parent than a partner, it's because they are. And they have those issues that they're working through with that parent from 20, 30 years earlier, maybe. So there are parts of this relationship that include the shared fantasy. They co-opt you in. They seduce you with their weapons of mass seduction. They love bomb you. It's like, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, right? The way they make you feel is the most powerful. It's like, this is kismet, this is destiny, this is my soulmate, my twin flame, oh my gosh, this is it, I've known you since the beginning of time, and whatever, all that stuff, it's not real. It's part of the thing. They're even believing it because it's a shared fantasy. So it's not like they're thinking, I'm going to manipulate and exploit this person and go mining for fuel and energy and supply from them until I have depleted all of their resources, and they go mining for all of your valuable resources. They're not thinking like that. They're thinking, oh, I'm in love. This person's so amazing, and the sex is amazing, and she's gorgeous, and she makes me look good, and this is wonderful, and she has residual benefits and personality traits that I want to mimic and parrot and absorb and call my own. She's this, she's that, and they really believe that. I think they really believe that when it's happening. So there's the shared fantasy, then there's the creating the internal object, the snapshotting. Then they convert that internal object into a bad object. And as soon as you show any kind of human qualities, where you need something, you get sick, you criticize them, whatever, something like that, then the devaluation stage begins, and they convert you into a bad object. Now, this creates dissonance because they're actually having to do things to create trouble so that you will actually become the bad object that they have made you, if that makes sense. It sort of turns into like a self-fulfilling prophecy where they make you into the bad guy. And so after being treated so ridiculously horrible over a period of time, you just like, that's enough of that, and it does make you crazy, and you start acting the role to fit the part. And then they react in two ways. One, they can become angry or aggressive and destroy the bad object, but that causes a problem because even though they feel contempt and hatred for you, they need you. Right? They need you. They need your fuel and supply, which comes in the form of attention, affection, adoration, all of that stuff. They need your personality traits and character traits so that they can wear them and adopt them and take them, for their own. And they need residual benefits, which is the sex and the free rent and maybe the connections you have and the networking and the this and the that and stuff like that. So it's like a push-pull. They have contempt for you and they hate you because you failed them and you weren't the perfect little Barbie doll that they thought you were. but at the same time, they know they need you. So they need you, but they hate you. They know they have to have what you have, but they don't want to have to need it or to have it. So it's a mess. So a lot of times there's sort of a self-directed aggression, which that's kind of what depression is, right? It's self-directed aggression. And they sublimate the second thing they can do in addition to reacting in a very angry, hostile, contemptuous way is they can just split and internalize the biggest part and then sublimate the small parts and just kind of find coping skills that way, which isn't always the best. So I want to talk about the schizoid part of the narcissist. The schizoid phase is sort of a self-defense. And this is, during the schizoid phase, there's usually some withdrawal. It's hard to say. They may withhold sex. When you're in it, you don't really think anything about it. But looking back on it, my husband, over a period of 15 years, did all these things more than once in repetitive cycles. You can't see the forest for the trees when you're in it. But when you're out and you're looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, he did that. And that lasted like several months. That was crazy. And I thought it was crazy. I didn't understand it. Now I do. You're going to be that way about a lot of things. So their distancing sort of prevents mortification. Mortification is just a collapse of their false self. And it's also a self-defense to protect their grandiosity so they can continue to believe that they are God. Almost, narcissists they're not religious. They don't believe in God because that would mean there's someone that is more powerful than them. And how is that possible? How could that be? So it's also protects their entitlement, and it protects them from sort of a consuming the external object. So it's a fiction. What they're doing in the schizoid phase, and studies have proven. I've read numerous scientific research, mental health professionals, like legitimate people saying that narcissistic personality disorder, we're not talking about just like you have narcissistic traits or qualities, but the people who have the personality disorder, that it's a delusional disorder filled with delusion. And what is delusional? Schizophrenia. Centers around delusion, a disconnect from reality. And my gosh, that's exactly what narcissists do. They disconnect from reality. They have no idea what's really going on because they're living in that fantasy with you, and nobody's real. They're just snapshot versions that are compartmentalized. And, there's nothing about that is healthy, normal, or as it should be. So they are delusional. It is a trauma response. But not all people that have trauma become narcissists, right? I had childhood trauma. And even though I, like everyone else, has narcissistic qualities in me, I do, definitely. Probably I have pretty heavy narcissistic tendencies, probably more than a lot of people. I think I do. But I don't have narcissistic personality disorder because that is marked by a complete absence of certain emotions that I have almost too many of. I went the other direction and sort of became, I guess the word these days is an empath. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that word. It's kind of trendy, but like you feel too much. You're too sensitive to what other people are feeling. You pick up on it, and you're always wanting to keep everybody happy and trying to please everybody and all that, That's me. I went too far the other direction. So it's like childhood trauma. You go this way and murder yourself and become a narcissist with a false self, or you go this way and become like an enabler, codependent. You have dependency disorders, attachment disorders, helplessness, learned helplessness. You are an empath with uber emotions on hyperdrive. Over here you got the narcissist just faking it with no feelings, flatline, no love, no remorse, no guilt, no empathy, no compassion, no mercy, none of those good human feelings that make us human. Nope, don't have them. So if it is a schizoid disorder, if the roots, the systemic etymology of the illness is schizophrenia or some version of schizoid disorder, then there's definitely a disconnect with reality. And something else, a couple of other things. They rewrite history. That reinforces that idea of schizoid. They create a completely different narrative about what happened that resembles in no way reality of what really happened. And they are also very gifted at something called selective amnesia. They can just totally wipe out something like it never happened and then reinvent a whole new storyline about what did and then make themselves believe it. They're not lying. Didn't that really happen? That's how I remember it happening. That's what they do. And then they make themselves believe that. Like, what are you saying? That never happened. Yeah, it did. I have pictures. I have letters. I have emails. I have proof. I have crap tons of proof. Legitimate, in your face. Let me show you the proof. And they're like, no, it didn't happen. You put the proof right in front of them. They're like, I don't know what that is. I must have been drunk or something like that, right? I presented him with some things that he had written where he said, I know I have sociopathic problems, and that I'm sadistic and passive aggressive, and like he's naming these things, he's admitting, and I know I have that. And then he went on and talked about some other like sex addict kind of stuff that I won't go into because it's just really gross. But he said he wrote it down when he was in therapy, when he was going to Sex Addicts Anonymous. He wrote it all down. And then when I put it there in front of him and said, look right here, you said this. You admitted it to yourself, to your therapist. He's like, well, how old was I when I wrote that? I think I must have just been like a kid, like I was 12 or 13. I was like, what the hell? No, you weren't. You were like 30 something when you wrote it. You were like 33, 32, 33 years old. You weren't 12? That's your excuse? That you wrote it when you were a child? And that I found these journals from before I knew you? I didn't know you when you were 12 or 13. It's just crazy. Crazy. And in their mind, they're like, well, there has to be an explanation because I didn't write that. Right? And so if they can't fabricate something to make themselves believe it, then they're just like, I don't know, maybe you forged it. No, I didn't. That's insane. All right, so most narcissists have schizoid personality styles, can be sadistical. They can have comorbidities like other schizoid states, and they all have sort of some kind of like arrested development where they're frozen in time, and the maturation, developmentally speaking, that's supposed to happen doesn't. Probably because of abuse, probably because of their personality disorder, what it's doing to their brain, probably for a lot of other reasons that I don't even know, but it doesn't happen the way it's supposed to. So it says here, this is from research, it is an underlying structure that sometimes is latent, meaning dormant, sleeping, but it still dictates their behavior nevertheless. They enjoy seeing other people humiliated, especially if they're the ones doing it. They'll be over there smirking and just enjoying the hell out of that because it makes them feel they have power and control, which is something they did not have when they were little children and they were being abused. They crave they crave schizoid types of recognition, awards, monetary validation, things that aren't intrinsic or internal or spiritual or moral or ethical. They seek things that are tangible rewards for what they do, right? So if they win an award for the best artwork, or somebody pays a huge price for a piece of their art, that's the kind of validation that they seek. So all of these narcissists are what we call freedom addicts. I'm a relationship addict. I became addicted to my narcissistic psychopathic husband because of the chemicals, the cortisol, the dopamine, the serotonin. All that became dysregulated because of intermittent reinforcement, which caused trauma bonding, yada, yada, yada. But they are freedom addicts. They want to be free of institutions, free of laws, free of rules, and it reinforces sort of an antisocial tendency. Even, antisocial personality disorder is sociopath. Sociopaths tend to get caught in a lot more crimes than a narcissist. They're all in the same category on the mental health chart on the DSM because they have overlapping features and they're quite similar. But the narcissist has antisocial personality traits, just like the sociopath. So we should not ignore that because that's important. A lot of times they like to be alone. And if they have to be social and be friendly and cultivate friends and be the life of the party and whatever, they're doing that for a couple of reasons. They're trying to either recruit and seduce new supply, or they're trying to get something from someone there, like somebody's got a connection. It's like networking on crack, super networking. When it's a narcissist, I mean, they'll work the room, they'll identify the people that respond to their, whatever you call it, the most. And yeah, it's, they're not making friends because they like friends. They like themselves. Even sex. It's not about trying to have sex. It's sort of an autoerotic experience with a narcissist. And it's like the people he has sex with, that's a tool to get what he wants from them. Money, power, connections, whatever they have to offer. Sex is a tool. It's a weapon they use. He has said to me, my ex, more than a few times, I don't care about sex. How can I be a sex addict when I don't really care about sex? It's not the sex I'm addicted to. No, it's not, because you're a narcissist, you're in love with yourself, and you'd be much happier having sex with yourself than having to perform and give anyone else pleasure. So when you do it, it's like a porn show, it's a performance. It's sometimes spectacular feats of strength or whatever, but there's no intimacy, there's no feeling, there's no soulful connection and vulnerability or any of that. They're using it as a tool to get what they want. And so I think we need to think about that, because the narcissist isn't drawn to people or sex or any of those things. They want something. They need something. They're empty. They're hollow. They're hungry. They're ravenously hungry. And to feed, that's one way to do it. Watching the reactions of the people they're having sex with really lights them up. That's like fireworks. That's like super, unlimited buffet of energy and supply for them when they can have sex and know that they have that other person surrender their power to them because they're enjoying that sex so much that causes them to be addicted, causes their target, their victim, to be addicted to them. It's a method of coercion and control. And so I used to just think, for somebody who doesn't like sex, you're constantly watching porn, you're constantly flirting and acting like you want to jump in the sack with anything with a heartbeat. For somebody who acts like that, I don't get it. But I do get it now. It's not about the actual sex. It's about watching the person they're having it with and getting that fuel, getting that power rush from that person's response, because they feed off of, that kind of energy. Kind of like vampires or something, right? They also want to appear normal is another reason that they socialize to trick others that they're an average guy, to get supply, to get what they need, stuff like that. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to touch on today. Narcissists weaken the mortality of their partner and the morals of their partner, and just weaken them all the way around. It's like when you give blood, they give you crackers or cookies and some juice, because you're going to feel weak after being drained, having your blood sucked. So after being with a narcissist, you should get some cookies or crackers and some juice, because you're going to feel pretty depleted. You're going to feel pretty depleted because they are sucking you dry. And then, when they do, and you're not, pumping out that delicious, rich fuel, high quality fuel, then they're going to go find it somewhere else. I guarantee it. And they're going to say, bye-bye. It's been nice. Why don't you just go along now, mosey on down the road, and make a space for the next person. Okay, next. And it's like that, and they just don't care. They devalue you when they see that you're human, and whenever you are like weak or clingy or stupid or needy or helpless or any of those things that they just hate, they have such contempt for you. They are disgusted by you. Any kind of weakness disgusts them. So these object relations is an important concept that's like part of like how they're put together and how they see you. Since this person has snapshotted and internalized you, you can't stay in that perfect phase too long before you get devaluated. I think I was in the devaluation stage 100%, I know, for like 4 years or so. At least 4 years, and probably before that, even though I didn't notice it, but definitely for 4 years. That's a long time to have someone pick at you. Pick at you, try to find fault, touch your jiggly parts, or criticize. I don't like the way you talk. Why do you always want to be so negative? Why do you always pop my bubble? Why do you want to do this? Why can't you just be happy? Why can't you just whatever, just constant criticism in a sweet kind of way, because mine was a covert, vulnerable, mid-range, somatic, passive-aggressive narcissist. And there's lots of different kinds, but mine never raised his voice, never got angry, but wow, his words were sharp. Paper cuts, death by 1,000 paper cuts. So healthy people don't do these things. They don't take snapshots. They don't internalize things. The way we internalize? It's called memories. Narcissists don't have really any memories because they change history. They rewrite it. It's not accurate. And then what does linger, they just hit delete, poof, gone. So, and they accumulate objects and information and everything that they can about you so that they can use it. It's sort of a confirmation bias. We hear about all different kinds of bias these days. It would be a good use of your time if you looked up different kinds of bias, cultural bias, confirmation bias, whatever, because those are good concepts to know. Okay, so I don't know. I didn't get to all the things in my notes here in my handy dandy little notebook, but I think I got to the gist of it. So I hope you learned something. I hope this helps you understand a little bit better what you're dealing with. And you need to know the only way out of this is forward. Don't look back there. Oh, nope, don't do it. I do that sometimes, and man, it just wrecks me. And I want to tell you, I want to end with something really serious. Am I trying to scare you with this, what I'm getting ready to say? Yeah, kind of a little bit. I'm trying to slap you around a little bit and say, snap out of it if you're wanting to get hoovered, and if you're missing them, and like, are they going to come back? And are they going to, if you're still doing that. Okay, here's something for you. I got a note yesterday, because I get like emails and messages and all this stuff, like every day, probably about 10 a day is my fan mail. And most of it, sometimes it's a question, sometimes it's a story of, this is what happened to me, what should I do? But this one said, and it was in response to something I had said in an article about how old I am and how challenging it is to reinvent myself at this age. And this person said, oh my gosh, this made me think of my father, because my father married my stepmom when I was like 5. And they were together for over 20 years. And she was a narcissist. And she made life for us horrible. There were 4 of us, 4 kids. And our stepmom made life just horrible all those years. It ruined the relationship with us and our dad. We didn't really have a relationship with her. It was just all really crappy. She said, here's the part I want to share. My dad was about your age, and she just left. And, they weren't young, they're like in their 60s. And she just left. And in fact, she ran off with his best friend that he plays golf with every weekend, and asked for a divorce, and then she married this other guy. And she said, what you wrote about really resonated with me, because my dad never got over it. She said he died about a year ago. And after she left him, he was wrecked. It destroyed him. And we didn't know how to help him, and he didn't know how to help himself. So for 6 years, he was caught up in the whole narcissistic abuse recovery. I'm so miserable. I'm filled with despair and hopelessness. I'm old and I'm shattered, and I'm just destroyed by what this narcissist woman did to him. And so she said, I totally get it that you think you're too old to get up and pick yourself up and make a new life. She said, but I just hope that you don't have an experience like my dad. Because she said, I know you said you've been alone now for 2 years since your narcissist husband left you. She said, don't spend the next 4 grieving and allowing it to serve your ass up on a platter. Because you're not young, and if you spend 4 more years grieving, you could end up like my dad and just die before you ever have a chance to recover. She said it was the saddest thing, and she wanted to warn me not to let that happen, to snap out of it, and to get on with my recovery, because life is short. And her dad spent 6 years grieving after his narcissist, probably because of the trauma bond, probably because of his biochemicals were all jacked up, physiologically not okay, emotionally not okay, PTSD probably, or complex PTSD, like layers of trauma on top of each other. I mean, it's bad. This is serious. So after I read that, I was like, oh, hell no. These last 2 years have been the worst years of my whole effing life. And I want to tell you, I can't have 2 more years like that. I can't. I have to get up and get on. I have to. Or I will end up like this person's dad, and I'll just grieve for another few years and then just drop dead one day. And oh my gosh, no, we cannot surrender to that. So have a talk with God. Put him on notice, or God, or your understanding of what God is, and say, hey, up here, divine being, source, spirit, big guy in the sky, whatever you want to call him. You know, maybe you're some other religion and you'll have another name, Yahweh or Allah or whatever, and say, hey, I need help because I can't do this alone. And I need to recover from this because the clock is ticking, tick, 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 and I cannot go out like this. I want to be free of it. I want to heal what's in here, because that's what you have to do. You have to heal what's in here, right? And so you got to get busy. Let's get on and let's do it. I'm trying to do some brave and bold things. Absolutely brave and bold things, because I have to. What is the choice? Just to languish and linger and just piddle around? Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. It's because of my husband. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. And I know you don't either. We don't want to suffer. So let's get busy and work on ourselves, guys. That's the answer. You work on what's in here. Find a way to do that. Do some research, find some support, get some help, get busy, because the key to all of this is your chance to heal what's in here, which obviously is not okay, right? And once you heal that, then you won't spend the rest of your days suffering and then just drop dead one day. What a horrible thing, right? And so let's not be like that woman's father who went out that way. Let's use him as a case study of what not to do, because she shared it for that reason. She shared it as a cautionary warning to all of us and said, don't take too long with this. Get yourself together. Make it a top priority. Do the work. Roll up your sleeves. Do the work. That's what she said. And so that's my message. That's her message. And yeah, so I hope that helps you. And I hope we can go on and do what we need to do. Yay! Okay, that was silly moment of joy. Bliss or hope. That's what hope looks like. Okay, I know I'm being silly now, but sometimes that's okay. You got to be silly. Put your clown hat on. All right, guys, that's it. Keep on trooping, keep on marching. We're going to get there, and I'll see you soon with a new video. Read my articles, follow me, like me, subscribe to me, you know, and we're going to get through this together. All right, much love. Bye.